I want to have enough. Like you can't think about having abundance until you literally give yourself permission to have enough.
Everybody's scared and nervous, guys. Everybody's scared and nervous. Everybody.
When we come from that space, it's very hard to create things for ourselves that are really good.
Rise and shine!
It's Entspresso time.
Hey, Believe Nation! I am not a morning person. I'm not, it's true. But when you start your day with a powerful routine that inspires you, like watching one of these videos, it will change your life. So let's start your day off right together. Grab your coffee, know that I believe in you, and get ready for a shot of Entspresso from Lisa Nichols.
I wake up every morning. Espresso keep me going. I wake up every morning.
Now, did you consciously sit down and say, I want to manifest inspiring millions of people, making millions of dollars? Was it a conscious thing? Were there moments where you sat there when you weren't living in that reality, where you said, you know what, I'm going to decide, I'm going to figure it out. I might not know how, I might not know where or what, but I'm going to commit to it and make it a reality. I mean, talk to me at the core of your experience.
Right. So I love how you say make millions of dollars. I said I want to inspire people and I want to be able to pay my bills. That was initially.
That was a big dream.
I want to run out a month before I run out of money. Big. I want to have enough. Like you can't think about having abundance until you literally give yourself permission to have enough.
Yeah, get past scarcity. So
I want to have enough to dream. And so my first, I think I have a ministry mindset. My first, I just want to help people. I want to help people who, and I want to be rewarded for my efforts, right? And then once I got past that, I said, okay, I want more. I want to generate millions. I want to serve millions, inspire millions, and generate millions. I think I deserve all of that. But that had to do with my self-worth.
Right.
I had to feel worthy to touch millions. And I had to feel worthy to touch millions. I had to feel worthy of both. And so that was personal development, which is why I live and I stay in personal development. I teach personal development. I teach wealth development, I teach business development, and I teach personal development. Because you have to have both.
The biggest problem in the world is we don't believe in ourselves. You, me, everybody. Everybody, I believe, has Michael Jordan level genius as something, right? You are the best. You are the best in the world. That's something, but you're not living it. You're not living up to it. You don't either believe that it's possible or you don't believe in yourself enough to go and chase it down. And that's a giant problem. It's a giant problem. It's the world's, wow, let me get in here. It's the world's biggest problem, period. And we need to fix it. Because if you go through life feeling like you're less than, that you don't believe in yourself, that you can't do big, scary, amazing things, then guess what? You never do. And the world needs your gift. And so we're gonna shift that, hopefully, in the video. I don't have all the answers, but I'm gonna share a couple tactics that have really worked for me. Nina needs to put her seatbelt on. So I recently had Deepak Chopra on my channel, and I didn't know too much about him, and I was nervous going into my interview with him. I was worried that I wouldn't ask the right questions. I was worried we had a limited amount of time. I was worried that I'd be able to give a great interview. And it's easy to say, well, we've done so many interviews. I've done Tony Robbins and Gary Vee and Wim Hof and whoever, right? We've done tons of different people, tons of different interviews on the show, and I'm still nervous to do this one. So what helps? What are the strategies? What did I use to do it? Well, one, I love to remind myself that I do difficult things. And that's not just Evan Carmichael is so special. I think that's something all of you can do, to remind yourself that you do difficult things, that when your heart's beating, you follow through, you do it. You show yourself that you don't play small when it gets difficult. There was 8 minutes before I went live with Deepak. 8 minutes before, my heart was beating like crazy. I'm hoping he shows up on time. I'm hoping the technology is all working and Zoom doesn't crash and all of that stuff. And so I go on my Instagram and I just show that I'm nervous. You know, I'm scared right now. I'm afraid. I hope everything works out. And I made a quick Instagram story to show the behind the scenes of what actually happens. If you look at a lot of the people, a lot of your heroes, a lot of the people you see on stage, there's this funny thing that happens before somebody goes on stage, all of the big names. I've been backstage with them. The 10 to 15 minutes before somebody goes on stage, it's quiet. Nobody talks to them. There's this general green room for everybody, and then the 10 to 15 minutes before somebody's about to go on, usually the speaker's by themselves. In their world, kind of isolated, just let them do their thing, let them get prepared, whatever their routine is going into it. Everybody's nervous before going off and doing the thing. I think we tend to feel like, well, this person looks like they have it all figured out. This person looks like it's so easy for them. Why am I so scared and so nervous? Everybody's scared and nervous, guys. Everybody's scared and nervous. Everybody. If you're not scared and nervous and you're not doing the right thing, then it's too easy for you. Then you're playing in the little leagues. Everybody's scared and nervous. The difference is the people who you admire, who you look up to, who you respect, your heroes, are the ones who are actually following through. They do it. They don't let the fear override them. It's not about being fearless. It's about embracing the fear. It's about dancing with the fear. It's about doing it because you're afraid, right? It's not have no fear, it's feeling the fear and doing it because of, not even doing it anyway, doing it because of, because you're afraid, now you have to go off and do it. And when you do that, you build your self-belief. Every time that you do something that's difficult, that is scary, that is hard, you build your self-belief. You believe in yourself a little bit more. Because at the end of it, you're like, I did that. I can't believe I just did that. Have you had that experience? You did something hard, like, I can't believe I just did that. That adds one more brick to your self-belief wall, house, foundation. One more brick. It's another sign to show yourself that you follow through. And every time you get afraid and you don't follow through, you're training yourself that you're not good enough, that you suck, that you can't do this. See, here it is again. Of course I can't do this because I never do this, right? That's the voice that we need to squash. So before I did my Deepak interview, I was nervous. 8 minutes before, I made an Instagram Live little clip to show people that I still get nervous, that I'm still worried, that I'm still afraid of disappointing people, that I'm still afraid that it's not going to work out, and that's normal. And then I'm still going to show up, because not showing up is not an option, right? Not showing up for the interview is not, I have to go do it because I'm scared. So step number one is you do scary, difficult, hard. That's no longer a good enough reason. The other thing that really helps is default to service. So why are you doing the thing that you're afraid to do? What's the reason? Is it to just make a bunch of money? Is it to rip people off? What's the reason why you're doing it? Chances are there's good intent. If you're watching this channel, I hope there's good intention behind what you're doing. You're trying to serve, you're trying to help, and of course you're trying to build a business, and of course making money is part of it, but it's not the number one reason why you're doing this thing. What's the reason why I had Deepak Chopra on? Is it just to build my channel? Is it just to try to make money? No, he's got a message that I want to pull out to serve you guys, to serve the audience. I want to ask him questions that hopefully he hasn't been asked before, put an entrepreneurial spin on some of the spiritual things that he normally talks about, and try to bring value to you guys. And hopefully I did that. I don't know, you can tell me, you could be the judge if it worked out or not. But that was the intention. And when you can go back to the intention, like, why am I doing this? What's the reason behind me doing this? And if the intention is always service or to help somebody else out, at least for me, gives me the courage, the confidence to go off and do the thing. As long as you're worried about yourself and how good you look or how bad it is, or, oh, Nina's bringing some coffee.
It's fine.
Or how it might be perceived, or other people's opinions or judgments. If that's your default thinking, then you're not going to show up because you're too in your head. It's a selfish mode. But if you can turn it into selflessness, that no, I have to show up because I'm here to create, to make, to serve, to assist somebody else, it gets you into a not fearless place, but more courageous place. Because now you're not just showing up for yourself, you're showing up for others. And it becomes more of a necessity, more of a requirement, more of a demand to go off and do it because you're here to help. I think you're a genius. I think I'm a genius. I think everybody's a genius at something. And we a lot of people haven't found it. And a lot of people have found it but don't believe in themselves enough to go chase it down. And I really deeply believe that you've got the ability to be the best, the world's number one at something. But we're living life too afraid. And the fear is normal, but the willingness to act is what separates the people who are your heroes versus everybody else. They're not special humans. They're not that different. They're still afraid. Don't tell yourself that they're not. They are still very afraid, but they show up. That's the only difference, the action. And so, number one, remind yourself that you do difficult things. That the fact that it's scary, difficult, or hard is not a good enough reason for you to play small. And then number two, default back to service. Try to understand, what is the intention? Why am I trying to do this? Because I'm trying to help people. And so now I have to show up. When I'm scared, when I'm about to go do something like the interview or speaking on stage, I play between those two exercises, between those two solutions. And sometimes I'm 60-40, difficult thing, Evan, do difficult things versus service. Sometimes I'm 80-20, sometimes I'm 9-91, whatever you need in the moment, play with it. Because what I do know is that if you've got the feeling like you could do something great, that it's inside you, that you've got some kind of genius, and that you want to serve and you want to help and you have a mission and it needs to get out there, if you feel that inside you and you don't go and do the thing, you play small, you will regret that for the rest of your life. It's time to make some changes, starting today. Now I've got a special bonus clip that I think you're gonna enjoy, but before that, it's time for the question of the day. I wanna know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week? When you watch a video and you get motivated, the science says you have a 35% chance of following through. That's not enough! But when you write down what time, what place, and how you're going to actually take action on it, you jump to 91% chance of following through. And when you have public accountability and you commit to other people that you're gonna do it, it jumps to 95% that you will follow through. So I want that for you, Believe Nation. I wanna know your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week. Put it down in the comments below so I can celebrate you. Also, if you want to have more self-confidence and self-belief, check out my 254 series, where every day for the next 254 days, I will send you an unlisted video. The science says it takes up to 254 days of consecutive action to build a habit. So I'm going to be with you every step of the way. If you want to be on for free, 100% free, is a link below. Go check it out. I'll see you there.
We validate who we are by what we're doing for other people.
I say, if your knees aren't knocking and your teeth aren't chattering just a little at least, then you're not playing big enough.
Well, I think it really starts with realizing that you don't love yourself, that most people don't. Most people feel they're not good enough, that they haven't done it right, they won't do it right, they'll never be enough, and they're definitely not lovable. And when we come from that space, it's very hard to create things for ourselves that are really good. So in the early days when I worked with people, I used to fix this problem and fix that problem, and you'd have this, a health thing, and we'd work on that and we'd work on this. And one day I discovered, much to my amazement, that if I would help people learn to love themselves, to really accept themselves as they are, we didn't have to work on problems, because it was almost like a miracle. Everything seemed to fall away. It's a hard one for people because we grow up believing that we're not good enough and nothing is right. I remember lots of times I would ask people, well, what is really wrong with you? What have you done that is so terrible that you're not acceptable to yourself? And I never, ever, ever got an answer that made any sense. You know, they might say something like, well, I'm too fat. Well, so, but when you talk about loving yourself, a lot of people think that that's vanity, But it isn't really. It has nothing to do with that. That is narcissistic. But to really care for you and to acknowledge that you are an important being. It's almost like in the Bible they would say, you recognize that you are a child of God, that therefore you are perfect. But even if you're not a biblical person, if you can recognize that you are a being that has self-worth, if you can really recognize your own worth, then you start to treat yourself differently. And I think that's what's so very important about loving yourself, is you stop beating yourself up, you stop making yourself wrong, you stop talking about how awful you are, and you stop saying things like, I'm really stupid and stuff, and you start to treat yourself with a certain amount of respect. And this makes an enormous difference, because what you give out in life is what comes back to you. So if you're giving out a feeling of, I'm okay, I'm good enough as I am, and I am acceptable, and I love life, and I love me, and you start having gratitude for yourself and for life, then life treats you differently, because you are having a different vibration that you're giving out and getting back. And that's when things really start to flow. Now, a lot of people don't realize it, but you have to practice. You just have to start it. And that's why I try to get people to do a lot of mirror work. If you look in the mirror, just simple things like looking in the mirror in your own eyes and saying, I love you. I really, really love you. And it helps if you use your name, Louise, I love you. I really love you. It gets to that little child inside that has been rejected for so long, and it breaks open sort of a dam or a door or whatever you want to call it, and it's like little miracles start to happen. Lots of little good things happen, and the universe loves grateful people. The more grateful you are, the more you get to be grateful about.
If you want another awesome Lisa Nichols video, check it out right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
I think perfection and balance are two illusions that are designed to help you keep chasing something that's not even attainable.
Everybody's got an opinion, an agenda for what you should do with your time.